Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda, and please welcome to our Operation Freedom platform, WeThePeopleProcessing.com. You know, are you tired of being threatened to be canceled just because you have a company focused on liberty and freedom? Well, worry no more, folks. WeThePeopleProcessing.com is your go-to merchant services, freedom-based company to provide business service payment solutions. We the People Processing provides their clients a cancel culture-free platform which is domestically based. They provide competitive rates, no contracts with next-day funding, a fully vetted and like-minded financial infrastructure, and full support for integrations, implementation, and e-commerce efforts. Bottom line, WeThePeopleProcessing.com focuses on defending your company's free market growth, values, and future. Check them out at www.WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Once you're on the site, enter in password Operation Freedom or call 855-499-2024. That's WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Then, when on the website, enter Operation Freedom as your password or call 855-499-2024.
Mr. President-elect,
go ahead.
Can you state
She's
categorically?
asking a question.
Mr. President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You are
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude. No, I'm not going to give you a
question.
question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Dave Vs The MSM. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. We are available 24/7 at davejanda.com with extra content, extra guests, extra analysis, archives to all of our shows. Look, there's a tremendous amount of free information at davejanda.com. A couple recent posts we have there. One is a special segment I did on the road to freedom for your and our collective freedom. It is based on my family's battle, war with the deep state since the 1880s. Many people have found that video incredibly inspirational. It's free. I suggest you go there. I know you have never heard any of this because it's also about my experiences, if you will, in the belly of the beast in D.C. And I first went there in 1988 to work on healthcare policy at the end of the Reagan administration. And I take you through the interactions I had through the H.W. administration, Clinton, W., Obama, and with Trump. You'll get none of this from any other platform. It is eye-opening. And you're saying, well, you're biased, Dave. Maybe. But anyone and everyone who's seen it, their takeaway is, I get it now. I thought I got it. I didn't. I did not. I get it now. We are available 24/7 at davejanda.com. We hope you'll come there for the free side as well as the subscription side. 30 cents a day for priceless information. 30 cents a day. Everybody can afford that because it's about saving lives. That's what we do there. Fact. One of the tentacles of the deep state are their tax collectors. So the title of today's presentation is The Tax Collectors Care About You. Yeah, right. I, in the past, have gone through my experiences dealing with the tax collectors. After I had worked with Senator Robert Dole in the early 90s and with his team had undermined the implementation of a ration-based horrendous program by the name of Hillary Care, myself and my family was targeted. So we were audited by the tax collectors from 93 through 2000. Now, back then, they were a different animal than what I encountered of late. They were respectful. They were efficient. They actually apologized to us every year. They apologized to our accountant as well, saying, please let Dr. Janda and Mrs. Janda know that we really didn't want to do this, but, well, they know why. Because of my opposition. But they would come by and they would efficiently, within 4 hours, go through things with our accountant, even though they had all the documents and all the thing, and they would go through the hoops, say everything looks fine, and walk out. Please apologize to them for us. And they were really great. They were very upfront. They were very nice, very respectful. But then, when I took on Obamacare and exposed it for what it was, and had a video that went viral and had over 3 million hits about when nobody else was talking about the problems with Obamacare, we outlined that it was the most unethical and inhumane means of cutting health care costs through the rationing and denying of care by bureaucrats thousands of miles away. That health care would become less available, less affordable, and less quality-oriented. 100% accurate. And we were saying that in 2009 and throughout 2010. And we ended up getting a targeted-based, harassment-based audit in 2013 that covered over 3 years. What we experienced from those collectors was drastically different than we experienced from 93 to 2000. They were disrespectful. They were mean. They were nasty. They didn't care about facts or data. They were on a hunt. Now, they came up empty for unreported income. Empty. But it was 9 months of pure harassment-based hell. Let me give you one quick example. I could give you dozens of what they tried to pull, but here's one. When they came, they said, well, Janda is taking these deductions for speaking around the country. Our accountant said, that's right. Those were unreimbursed. He paid for his own airfares and his own hotels and his own meals. We've submitted to you the programs, the receipts for all that, and the programs for where he spoke. Well, but he said he didn't get paid. No, he refused payment, and the reason is because he felt that it was his patriotic duty to inform people around the country of the truth, because the media was not delivering the truth of what Obamacare was all about. And he has the PowerPoint presentation, and of the lines in Obamacare, reference lines of what they said and what it's about. Oh. Well, we got the receipts, but we can't seem to find the programs. He doesn't have those anymore, does he? Yeah, he does. Well, before we can approve these deductions for travel and things, we need the programs. But we already submitted. Well, we need them again. He doesn't have those, does he? Yeah, I think he does. I did. And we made copies that showed where I spoke and what I spoke on. We gave them to the IRS, and the IRS comes back and goes, oh, he has those. Mm-hmm. Well, he said he didn't get paid, right? He didn't. Well, how do we know that? Well, why don't you contact all the places he spoke, because you have the programs and you see who put the events on. Contact them. They came back and they go, well, we talked to them and they said that he didn't get paid. Of course he didn't. That's what we told you. We've never heard of that before. Why would someone of his stature not want to get paid? Because, as we told you, he feels it was his patriotic duty to inform people of what was really going on. We've never heard of that. Now you have. Well, before we can approve these deductions, even though it said he spoke about this on the program, we need to have documentation from someone in the organization that put on these events, for each one of these events, that he actually did speak on that. He doesn't have anything like that, does he? I don't know. So they came to me and I said, well, I save emails of people thanking me for what I did, what I do. You have, yeah. So we redacted, the government redacted, right? They love redacting stuff, right? As we saw with the affidavit on Trump's raid and what we saw, right? The whole thing, yeah, redacted, blacked out. So we blacked out principals' email addresses and their phone numbers. But the body of the thing, we appreciate you coming out here, Dr. Janda, and spending your time and speaking to our organization about such and such, the hazards of Obamacare, whatever it was. So we turned all those over. Oh, he has those. Yeah. So you can approve the deductions? I mean, you got all the receipts. You got, well, we need one other thing. Wait, you got the program. You already called all these organizations that told you he spoke on this. You have now other documentations of emails documenting what else do you need? We need an attendance list of all those who were in attendance at his presentations at these events. What? Our accountant said, this is unconstitutional. And their response was, well, we need this because we have to make sure there are not legislators in the crowd, because if they hear his presentations about Obamacare, that could be considered lobbying, and lobbying expenses are not deductible. So wait, he is not advocating for, he's just dissecting Obamacare. No, we need that. Well, first of all, we don't believe he has that. I didn't. But if he did, they said, he would never provide you that. That's none of your business to have attendance lists, which is true. That is one small example of what we went through for the past 9 months. So when people tell you the tax collectors care about you, that is a pile of huge, stinking manure. Which brings me to speaking about huge, stinking piles of manure. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's Inflation Reduction Act, which, by the way, was secretly brought to you by Bill Gates, $750 billion. What did Milton Friedman say about inflation? It's too many dollars that are printed chasing too few goods. And they're trying to tell you this is not inflationary. This is not the Inflation Reduction Act. This is the Inflation Production Act. This is from Zero Hedge. The Globalist Inflation Reduction Act, which according to the Congressional Budget Office will raise taxes on the middle class to the tune of $20 billion. Your taxes aren't high enough yet, right? Okay. Not to mention unleash an army of tax collectors on working class Americans over the next decade, was made possible by none other than Billy Boy Gates, Epstein buddy. Mm-hmm. And in smaller part, Larry Summers. Oh, another Epstein buddy, right? The picture of Epstein along with Summers, along with Gates. Remember that? Yeah. Who have been known, actually, Zero Hedge points out, to hang out together with none other than Jeffrey Epstein. In turn, Gates says he tapped into a relationship, I wonder how that developed, with Joe Manchin, senator from West Virginia, that he'd been cultivating since at least 2019. And that's what got the Inflation Production Act through, of which $80 billion was allocated for tax collectors with the hiring of 87 new tax collecting agents. Now, there are the apologists for the tax collectors that say, this is all about replacing retirement people. Stop. Anyone who says that is a globalist hack. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to con you, just like the people that try to con you about this being safe and effective. Congressman Tom Massey from Kentucky, a verifiable lie, saying Congress authorized additional spending in the Inflation Production Act to replace retiring IRS agents. Lie. That's not how it works, he stated. Congress authorizes positions, not specific hires. When someone retires, that person can be replaced without a congressional authorization. Quit lying, folks. Quit trying to protect the tax collectors. Thomas Massey, congressman. So then the IRS put this up on their website, right? About major duties for hiring. Now, the apologists will say, well, this is only directed at the Special Investigative Division. This wasn't meant for all 87 new tax collectors. Wrong. They don't specify that in what they put up on social media, the tax collecting organization. But let's say there's 3,000 tax collectors in the Special Investigative Division. Okay? Here's what they had in the major duties. Adhere to the highest standards of conduct, especially in maintaining honesty and integrity. Okay, I would say that bullet point is accurate based on the interactions that we personally had from 93 to 2000 with the tax collectors. But in 2013, going into 2014, under no circumstances was there any standard related to conduct or maintaining honesty and integrity. None. Work a minimum of 50 hours per week, which may include irregular hours, and be on call 24/7, including holidays and weekends. Our harassment-based audit went 9 months, and it wasn't because they were working 24/7 in 2013. Maintain a high level of fitness necessary to effectively respond to life-threatening situations on the job. For a tax collector? Well, that's just for the Special Investigative Division. No, it didn't say that. Carry a firearm and be willing to use deadly force if necessary. Well, what percentage of the 87,000 new hires, remember what Massey said, new hires, what percentage of that 87,000 is that directed to? How many? 10? 1,000? 10,000? 80,000? We don't know. And even if they told us, are we going to believe it? Because these are the same cats that told us this was safe and effective and made a difference. And social distancing, 6 feet, that made a difference. And lockdowns made all 100% lies. So, the old Ronald Reagan trust but verify? No trust until it is verified in black and white. No trust and only verification. Be willing and capable to participate in arrest, execution of search warrants, and other dangerous assignments. Well, that appears to be related to the investigative division, we think, but we're not sure based on how they put this out there to the public and what they're saying. Remember, what they say and what they do are two different things. Let's look at this investigative division. 3,000 tax collector agents, right? 3,000 in this. Okay. So, when the IRS put this thing out, this announcement out, they didn't even attempt to clean it up for at least a week. Well, wait a minute. If this was So they had to circle the wagons. They said, wait. We made a mistake. We put some stuff out there, and now they're saying it's all of these people that we're going to hire, these new 87,000 tax collectors. They're all going to have this. We got to clean this up. Well, it's only for maybe the investigative division. Kind of, that's what we're going to try to push. Okay, so when we look at this investigative division, let's look at their track record. There was a Inspector General report issued, the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration, and they issued this report in 2012. Here is a recent article from the Americans for Tax Reform. Tax collecting agents accidentally discharge their guns more often than they intentionally fired them. Now, of note, the IRS, the tax collectors, have 4,600 guns, reportedly, on hand. And 5 million rounds of ammunition. That is documented. Okay? IRS has 4,600 guns and 5 million rounds of ammo. Will DEM bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, Production Act, grow? Will that grow an even bigger arsenal? This from the Americans for Tax Reform also. The tax collectors have 4,600 guns and 5 million rounds of ammunition, according to a report from the Open the Books published in 2020. With globalists passing $80 billion in additional funding to facilitate the hiring of 87,000 new agents, how much will this arsenal grow? The Democrats and the globalist push to increase the size and power of the tax collectors has significant criminal justice and basic due process ramifications. So you're going to say, okay, Dave, they have 4,600 guns for supposedly just the 3,000 agents. 1.5 guns per, okay. And they have 5 million rounds. Wow, those tax collectors, they have to be firing their weapons a lot. Okay. I bring you back to that 2012 Inspector General report from the Treasury. Quote, according to the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration, special agents in the criminal division, investigative division of the tax collectors, accidentally fired their weapons more often than they intentionally fired them. Kind of like Barney Fife in the Andy Griffith Show when he had his one bullet in his gun and he'd put it in his holster and he'd almost shoot his foot off, right? Remember accidental discharge? According to documentation provided by all 26 criminal investigative field offices, the NCITA and the TIGTA-OI, there were a total, over 3 years' time, of 8 firearm discharges classified as intentional use of force incidents. 8 in 3 years. And 11 discharges were classified as accidental. In other words, 58% of the time, as documented by the Inspector General in that report, 58% of the time, their discharges were accidental. And we want to give them more ammo and more guns and hire more agents for them? To the tune of 4,600 guns and 5 million rounds of... So when I heard 5 million rounds, I thought, how often are these guys shooting off their weapons? In 3 years' time, 19 times, 11 of which were accidental, Barney Fife moments. Right? So you might say, well, that's Dave, come on. That's because they're always at the firing ranges when they're not using their pencils. They're at the gun ranges, and what they're doing is they're practicing. According to this Inspector General report, additionally, the audit found that the special agents did not meet all of the firearms training or qualification requirements. This from the report. This lackadaisical approach to firearm safety has led to easily preventable accidents. There is no national level review of firearms training records to ensure that all special agents meet the qualification requirements. Right. But they got 4,600 guns, and they got 5 million rounds of ammo, and they just got $80 billion more, and they just got allocated 87,000 new spots for tax collectors, of which they're telling us, well, not that many are going to be for the inspection division, that are the ones, reportedly the only ones, that tout the weapons that they're not trained in, that have a 58% discharge rate of accidental discharges. IRS whistleblower. And I've always told you it's the whistleblowers. They're going to end this. IRS whistleblowers. Quote, billionaires are laughing as Biden-Harris plan targets working middle class with audits. Just from John Binder. A former lawyer for the Internal Revenue Service tax collectors who accused the agency of going after elderly Americans says President Joe Biden's Inflation Production Act will undoubtedly target working and middle class families with new IRS audits. Biden's Inflation Production Act, signed into law, includes the $80 billion for new IRS audits on American taxpayers. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that at least $20 billion will be taken from working and middle-class Americans earning less than $400,000 a year as a result of the increased tax collector audits. And there you have it. What did Orwell say? That when it comes right down to it, it comes down to, with the syndicate, fraud and force. And when the fraud is exposed, be prepared for force. And that's exactly what the Biden-Harris Inflation Production Act is all about. And their $80 billion allocation. Are there good people that are tax collectors? Yeah. And maybe me and my family ran into a bad actor. There are bad actors in every profession. But the fact that it continued for 9 months tells you it just wasn't one bad actor. That there was a whole chain of actors all the way up and down that food chain that were thinking this is a good thing to do. No. There are some good people that are tax collectors. And those people need to become whistleblowers like the one I talked about at the end of this presentation. Because that's how this ends. This ends with people that care more about freedom and their families' futures and our republic's future than they do about the globalists that are running various agencies in our current government. Fact. I hope you'll join us at DaveJanda.com, the free, the public side, as well as the subscription side. Biggest bang for the buck in all the internet. We're there 24/7 for you at DaveJanda.com. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.